Hey, if you're thinking about buying a home, it is absolutely vital for you to have a basic understanding of what's going on in the current real estate market. And the best way to do that is to look at what's happened in the past and what experts are projecting to go forward. And that's what we're going to take a look at in this video. But can I be frank with you for just 1 second? Most people who are taking a look at making a move aren't going to do it based on numbers. The vast majority of people who are moving have had a housing need change. The home that they're currently living in no longer makes sense for them. Maybe there's a death in the family, maybe there's a birth in the family, maybe there's a marriage, a divorce, kids going off to college. You're getting older and you need to downsize. The home that you currently have just no longer works for you. If you find yourself in that situation, because the vast majority of people who decide to move for those reasons. Unless you're some big investor who's treating real estate like a business, most people move based on their family needs. And each situation is unique and different depending on what your needs are. So I wanted to offer you a free opportunity to schedule a moving strategy call with myself or Michelle so that we can talk about what those needs are and how those needs have changed for your specific situation so that we can take the numbers that I'm going to go over today and how we can use them for your situation, position you best succeed in your real estate goals. So if that's something you're interested in, I put a link down in the comments. It'll be the top comment pinned to the top or whatever for you to schedule that free strategy call with us. No obligation, no pushy sales pitch. It's completely free just to see if making a move right now is the right move for your family. So if you're interested in that, I put that down in the link below. But as we start to look at the numbers, I think we can all see that the second half of 2022, the real estate market is going to be defined by what's happening with interest rates and inflation and what the Fed is doing to combat those inflation rates. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But before we jump into that, where are my manners? My name is Sean. I'm a realtor in Columbia, South Carolina, servicing all of the South Carolina Midlands. That's Lexington, Irmo, Columbia, basically all of Lexington and Richland County. And we created this YouTube channel to show people what it's like to live, work, and play in Central South Carolina, as well as provide some real estate tips that are local to this market. So if you're a homeowner or you're thinking about making a move to this area, or maybe you already live here and you just want to learn a little bit more about the area and the things that are going on, I encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to this channel and give this video a quick like so that more people can be exposed to what we're doing here. That being said, let's go ahead and take a closer look at those interest rates we were talking about. You know, 2022 was a roller coaster year for the real estate market. We started the year with unprecedented growth in home prices. We saw homes go from $240,000 starting in January to in June reaching $280,000. We saw home prices increase by 15% just in 6 months. And that happened for a number of different reasons, but the biggest reason is probably the artificially low mortgage rates that was increasing buyer demand and allowing buyers to qualify for a lot more in a mortgage than they could have previously. And then you factor in that sellers were resistant to selling their homes because of the lack of inventory that was on the market. And that's really the reason we saw those home prices increase by so much so quickly. But then we slammed on the brakes right after June when we started to see those interest rates start to climb. The second half of 2022 was all about inflation and increasing mortgage rates. And inflation is honestly the enemy of mortgage rates. You know, when a bank looks at how much money they're willing to give a buyer, they're gonna take a look at one, how much risk does that buyer present to us? That's what they're looking at when they do income checks, credit checks, that kind of thing. But they're also gonna look at how much money can we make off of giving this buyer that money. If we invest in this buyer, how much money can we see back? And when interest rates are extremely high, banks have to factor that into their calculations when quoting an interest rate for a buyer. When you add in the steps that the Fed is doing to combat those high interest rates by charging banks more to borrow money from the federal government, you add all that together and those costs are getting passed down to buyers. And this is why we've seen interest rates double in the second half of 2022. And that obviously is going to affect the current number of buyers and their motivations because now they can't afford as much home as they used to. So let's take a quick example. I want to show you these numbers real quick because I don't think a lot of people understand how big of an impact interest rates have on the home buying process. So let's take a look at what a $250,000 home would have cost a buyer on a monthly basis in January when interest rates were 3.22%. That buyer's monthly payment would have been around $1,029. But if we take that same $250,000 home using today's interest rates, which as of me checking this morning are just slightly over 7%, it would cost a buyer $1,590 for the exact same $250,000 purchase price. That's a difference of over $500 per month to purchase that same house. And when you stretch that out over a 30-year loan, buyers are looking at paying an extra $200,000 in interest just because of that interest rate going from 3.22 to just over 7%. So you can see why buyer motivation has backed off, and there are fewer and fewer buyers in the market looking to purchase a property. Not also have they seen this 15% increase in home prices, but they've also seen the cost of their mortgage, the cost of their loan, almost double. And that's what's causing home prices to start to come down, as well as homes to sit on the market longer and longer. But it also is going to decrease how much home a buyer can afford. So let's take that same buyer from before who was going to buy a $250,000 property at a 3.22% interest rate and pay $1,029 per month for 30 years. If that buyer wanted to keep, let's say they could only afford that $1,029 monthly payment. That's how banks figure out how much home you can afford, by the way, is by taking a look at what they think you can afford per month. So by taking that $1,029 and put it in today's interest rates, that same buyer could only afford a $160,000 home. So those buyers have lost $90,000 in buying power in just 1 year. So they couldn't even afford that $250,000 house. Now they have to downgrade what they're looking for and honestly look in an entirely different price bracket because they can't afford it. But what's really crazy, in my opinion, is that home prices aren't even back to where they were on average for the past 30 years. According to Freddie Mac, the average interest rate over the past 30 years was 7.76. Now we are almost there. I think I looked at it this morning, I think it was 7.016, but we aren't even back to the average interest rate that home buyers have been paying over the past 30 years. But now that you kind of understand how these mortgage interest rates are impacting buyer demand, and it's important for you to understand this when it comes to pricing and selling your home, and understanding why you can't price your home like you could have 6 months ago. You have to base it on the current buyer demand and current market conditions. It also is going to help you understand why your home is going to take a little bit longer to sell than it would have 6 months ago, because we are in a completely different market and it has completely shifted. But now that you understand how those interest rates are affecting buyer demand, let's take a look at what experts are saying is going to happen going forward. What is the forward-looking projection as you're looking at selling your home? If we take a look at what Harry Habib from MBS says, he says, because we see a slowdown and we see the inflation comparisons start to become more favorable, we'll start to see that inflation number move lower and lower and lower. And as a result, mortgage rates should move similarly on a downward trajectory, probably giving us around a 5% or even below 5% within the next 6 months. Now, only time is going to tell if Barry is correct, because let's be honest, none of us have a crystal ball. We can only take a look at what's happened in the past and make projections about what's going to happen in the future. And then as things get closer, those projections get updated. Those projections get better and better as new inflation numbers get released and we learn what the Fed is going to do going forward. Now, I do agree that we are going to start seeing some decreases in mortgage interest rates, which is good news for buyers. It's going to bring that buyer demand back, especially as we come out of winter. Buyers tend to not do a lot of home shopping during the winter time, but as they come back out of that winter slumber, I guess you could say, and those interest rates come down, I think we are going to see buyers return to the market. But I don't think we're going to see a drastic drop. I don't think we're going to be back in the 3s or 4s. However, I do think that we're going to be maybe in the high 5s, low 6s over the next couple of months. Obviously, if you're renting right now, who cares what interest rates are? If you're paying 100% interest to your landlord and helping him pay off his house, then it really doesn't matter if interest rates are at 3, 5, 7, 10%, because by buying a home, you're going to be saving 90% off of what you're already paying a landlord. So that's why I tell people it's really important to take a look at your current situation, your current housing needs, and not try to time the market and move based on your predictions, but just look at what do you need, what are your goals, and what will help get you to those goals. These incremental changes in interest rates and home prices don't really mean a lot if you're not planning on moving in the next year or two, because historically, over every 10-year period, home prices have gone up. So waiting to buy for home prices to come down or waiting for interest rates to come lower is just costing you more money, because you're paying 100% interest to your landlord, and you're also missing out on the potential appreciation. If you buy a home this year and it goes down next year, as long as you're not planning on selling next year, it doesn't really matter. But if it goes up by 20% in value over a 10-year period and you sell it in 10 years like most people do, then it's a win for you. But now that you have a really good grasp on what's going on with interest rates, what the projections are, and how they're affecting home prices and inventory, let's go ahead and take a closer look at those home prices and inventory here in the South Carolina area. And as we take a look at the numbers for November, which is the most current data we have, you can see that the number of new listings actually took a really steep dive in the month of November. The number of homeowners putting their home on the market has been a lot fewer than the past couple of months. But it's important to remember that that happens every year this time of year. As the holiday season starts, fewer and fewer homeowners want to put their homes on the market because they might be hosting holiday parties, going on vacation. A lot of homeowners choose not to list their homes during the holidays. But if you are thinking about selling, this is actually really good news for you, because there's a lot less competition and your home can stand out. So instead of being 1 out of 50 homes, you could be 1 out of 10 in your specific neighborhood or in your zip code. So this can be a really good opportunity for you. As we take a look at the number of pending sales, or the number of homes that were put under contract, we see a steep drop here as well. And that's because of what we've already spoken about, these high interest rates and high inflation, as well as buyers being nervous. So they're sitting on the fence waiting to see what happens with interest rates, what's going to happen with inflation. And as these numbers kind of even out over the next couple of months, I think we're really going to start to see buyer demand return to the market, which is great news for sellers. But that drop off in buyer demand is also causing homes to sit on the market longer than they have over the past couple of years. You can see here that the median days on market is actually 19 days to go from being listed to being under contract. And that's actually the longest amount of times that we've seen homes sitting on the market since July of 2020. That's why it's so important now, with all of these changes and shifts in the real estate market, for you to hire a competent professional to market and sell your specific property. You know, a lot of real estate agents have gotten in the business the past 2 years or so because these home prices and demand was so hot, and they've never had to experience what it's like to sell a home in a shifting or softening market. They've only experienced the market that we've had the past 2 years, where even a monkey could type on a keyboard and sell a home. You upload some pictures, you put it on the MLS, and it's gone in 7 days with 10 offers and $5,000 over asking, or 20, or whatever we were seeing. It's just insane. A lot of these agents came into that market and they have no experience on what it's like to sell in a softening market, where you actually have to market a property properly and where you actually have to price it correctly. It didn't matter what you priced your home at in 2021 or early 2022, because it was gonna sell for more than that. But now you're gonna have to deal with more competition as well as savvy buyers who realize that home prices are coming down. So you have to have an effective pricing strategy and an expert marketing strategy to make your home stand out from the pack. And you wanna make sure you're hiring somebody who can make your home look like the best deal in the neighborhood. By the way, if you are considering selling your home this winter, we just released our winter buying and selling guides, and we put links down in the descriptions for those. We release these seasonally, so it's the most updated information on what you can do as a homeowner to help your home sell for the most amount of money and the things that you should be concerned with as a home seller. But like we mentioned in the beginning of this video, it is absolutely vital that you as a home buyer or a home seller or an investor have the most up-to-date data on what's going on in your specific area. And I'm not just talking about the South Carolina Midlands. What's going on in your zip code? What's going on in your neighborhood? What's going on in your school district? Be as narrow as possible. It's super important that you have that information so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. So if you want to stay up to date on what's happening in your specific neighborhood and your specific zip code, your school district, or your county, I encourage you to jump on our website and take a look at our market research tool. And you can even sign up for our newsletter that's delivered directly to your email inbox so that you have the most accurate and up-to-date information on what's going on in your area and allows you to make the best decision about what's right for your family and your specific situation. And if you want to take advantage of that free moving consultation with us where we can take a deep dive into your specific situation and how we would best position you to win in today's real estate market, that link is pinned in the comments.